Hi friends, my name is Faye and you're watching Mystery Date with a Book. Today I have a teaching video for you. I know that we're coming up to that time of the year now where some people are starting their teacher training. You're going through a PGCE, school direct, maybe a BA in teaching. I don't know. Whatever route you're going through, you're probably going to start at the very beginning of September. So I wanted to post this video just before that so you're ready, so you know what you need to do. Let me just readjust here. So one of the things that you will need to do, it doesn't matter what route you take, is your evidence folder. Okay? Some call it your teaching standards folder. I call it evidence folder just because I like the word evidence better, and it reminds me of that show CSI that I used to watch years ago. So anyway, let's focus. Okay, back to topic. This is what your average folder is going to look like at the end of the year. Now, this is very important because without evidence for every single teaching standard, you won't graduate, okay? You won't get your qualification, you will never teach. You would have gone through that whole shenanigan, the whole nightmare of going through a PGCE with nothing at the end to reward you. You won't get qualified. So, please keep your evidence in a folder, okay? So, in the UK, I'm talking about the UK, okay? I don't know about the American system, I don't know about the Italian system or the Spanish system, I don't know. What I'm going to talk about is the UK system for teacher training. What you're going to need is, you're going to get, on your first day probably, or even before that, you can just Google it actually. You're going to get, it's not even a page, it's 2-3 pages? I can't remember now. But it's a list of the teaching standards and the sub-standards that you have to reach before you graduate. Now, I wrote everything down and tried to organize it into this file as best as I could. Now, this worked really well for me. It might not work for you. You just have to try it. But everyone in my tutor group at uni, everyone who was doing their PGCE in my group, they saw my file and they wanted to copy it. I think not everyone, but the tutor, the teacher who was, in charge of us, he took pictures, like he wanted everyone else to do this. So I'm assuming this is a good way to do things. So to keep yourself organized, first of all, don't panic, okay? This was not filled in a week, okay? It took me the whole, I think it's 10 months that a PGCE takes. It's not even a whole year because you get summer in there, so 10 or 11 months, I don't know. But it took me a whole PGCE year to fill this out, okay? And most of this is just lesson plans, okay? So every lesson plan you do, put it in there, okay? It will fill out very quickly. Don't worry about it. Don't be scared about the size of the folder. When I first started, they showed us a video about this girl who had just graduated, and she showed us her file, her folder, and I was terrified because it was packed. Like, it was up to here. It was packed. Mine is not that full, but still it was a really good size. I think that girl was just being extra. I don't know what it was. Anyway. So yes, I just saw my t-shirt on the viewfinder here. If you didn't know, I have an Etsy shop and I'm thinking about adding t-shirts onto my Etsy shop. So I made this t-shirt for myself, just, to see if it holds up, if the vinyl stays on, if it washes up well. But anyway, we're just trying it out, so you might get t-shirts in my Etsy shop soon. I don't know yet. We'll see. We'll see if this works. Okay. Now, back to the topic at hand. See, I have this habit of just going off on a tangent and then, talking about, I don't know, penguins or something when I'm meant to be talking about oranges. Yeah, it happens. Don't let that happen to you, especially in the classroom, okay? Keep yourself focused. Okay, here we go. So what we're doing is I'm gonna show you my folder, okay? So you know that there's nothing scary about it, all right? I'm gonna go through them. I'm gonna show you exactly what I did, and yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, so here we go. This is the file we're talking about. Here we go. Now, this is my craft table. This is where I make my resin products and all that, so ignore the background, okay? Okay, here we go. Now, as you know, you get a list of teaching standards that you have to meet. What I did here was I split this folder into sections with extra wide dividers. Now, in each section, I have one of the standards, okay? Each standard has a number of substandards, but don't worry about that yet, okay? First standard is about expectations, okay? The things you expect your pupils to do. Pupil progress, how much they learn, how much they progress. Self-explanatory, really. Subject knowledge. Number 4 is about your planning and teaching. Number 5 is a big one as well. Differentiation. This is really big. In every lesson, you have to differentiate between the different skill levels in the class. Assessment. Now, this is the one I struggle with. I can do everything else, but assessment, I find it really hard, but because you have to assess every child's knowledge and skills and, you know, just ability in every lesson and see how they're progressing. Now, if you have 35 children in a class, that's really hard to do. So I struggle with that. But, you know, we're still working on it. Behavior management, a big one, but that's usually okay. Responsibilities as a teacher. The last 2 are your professional conduct 1, professional conduct 2 and 3. Don't worry too much about that, okay? Worry about that at the end. Those are easy to do, okay? Don't worry. So we're going to focus on these. Now, what I did was, let me just open this for you. Okay, so for each standard, I have a divider with the number on it, so it's easy to find. I wrote down the teaching standard and the substandards. Now, what I did at the beginning was that I did a checklist here. So for every evidence I had for example, 1.1, which is establish a safe and stimulating environment for pupils rooted in mutual respect. For every evidence I had of that, I checked this here. But after a while, you get so many checks, you get so many of these pages, I didn't want to keep going back and forth between these. So what I did was, let me show you over on this side. Let me pull it down a bit. There you go. I wrote all the standards here, just the main standard, and 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on and so forth, all the way to the end at the front of my folder. Okay? So I could see everything I had collected, all the evidence I had collected at a glance. I just had to open a folder and see everything I had and what I needed to work on. Okay? So I started doing the ones in the dividers, but then I changed over to these, so you'll see that sometimes they won't match. This is the one that matters, okay? This is the one I'm concerned about. So, as you can see, you don't only get one evidence for each substandard. The more the merrier, okay? So the more evidence you have, the better it will be for your tutor to sign you off at the end, okay? Basically anything could be evidence, okay? Let me show you a couple of examples. Okay, so for instance, we're going to start with teaching standard number 1. I have some evidence of work that the children have done for me. On the very first day, just an introduction lesson. I introduced myself. I wanted them to introduce themselves. So I asked them to draw, self-portrait and write something at the back. I did little booklets for each one of them. 36 children in a class, guys. I did 36 little booklets. And then in every page of the booklet, they had to write, their favorite subject, their favorite food, their favorite activity, something that they wish their teacher knew that was very helpful, that was very informative. So yes, if you want to do something like this, go for it. It serves as one of your standards, Everything can be evidence. Okay. Again, lesson plans. I'm gonna do a whole video on lesson plans, don't worry about it. Most of my evidence is just lesson plans, okay? Most of them are just lesson plans. Sometimes I type them, sometimes I write them. So yes, just lesson plans. Lesson plans all the way. Let me show you here. You might want to use observations as well. Every week, I think, about every week on average, your teacher will observe one of your lessons and give you some feedback. Keep that, okay? That's evidence, because every time you do a lesson, you have a teaching standard as a target, and you know, use it. If you've met that target, use it as evidence. Review week. Every week we had a review meeting with my teacher, you know, me and the other student teacher. We had a review with our teacher, and we will go over the targets for next week, so you can use those as well for your evidence folder. Okay, don't worry, you can get observations, lesson plans, anything. So let me see if there's something different here. Okay, now sometimes you do a really good lesson and it's really fun and your teacher will take pictures of it. As long as you blur out the children's faces, you can use it as evidence, okay? In this lesson here, we were about to start a new term. We were going to do a new topic. I think it was the South Pole, Antarctica, something like that. And I, you know, redecorated the whole classroom. I got them a tent. I painted that in white. It took me the whole weekend to paint that. But it was brilliant. We had fake snow. We had a little friend, a little classroom friend, a little penguin here. I don't remember what he was called, but every now and again in the days following this, I could see children coming up to the penguin, hugging them and, you know, telling him a secret or something, you know, just whispering something in his ear and going back to our table. So, you know, that was really, really good. I loved, that was a brilliant experience, okay? Homework. If you set them homework, one of your targets is to actually set homework. So it's easy. Set homework and plan other out-of-class activities to consolidate and extend the knowledge and understanding pupils have acquired. So set homework, okay? I'm not a big fan of setting homework, but sometimes you have to do it, at least for this evidence folder. So I set out this homework. It was half a page, one exercise. That's all they had to do. Yeah, easy. So, you know, there's your evidence. Let me see. See, lots and lots and lots of lesson plans. If you go to a staff meeting, I was lucky enough to go to every single weekly staff meeting that they had. And every time they give out, what do you call it? A handout. Yeah, if they're handing out anything, keep it, okay? It's evidence that you've been to a staff meeting, that you're involved in school life. And whatever topic they're talking about as well, that counts. Yeah, anything really, anything goes. I was lucky enough to, you know, be in charge of history lessons for a few weeks. So they let me do my medium term plan. I wanted to do, well, I actually followed the school policy. It wasn't my idea. In the first week, in the first lesson, I had an assessment, cold questioning, just to see how much they knew already. I went on to Kahoot, did a little quiz. They loved it. They used their iPads to answer the questions and made a little competition out of it. So I had an assessment for the topic, which was the tutors. Then every week, every lesson, we had a different subject, you know, based on the tutors. So one week we talked about Henry VIII, then we talked about his wives as well, the difference between rich and poor, tortures. We had torture week. They loved it. Elizabeth I, who came on after Henry VIII. I wanted to do big projects, but we didn't have time for that. We kind of ran out of time because we had so much fun with the lessons. Yeah, so that didn't happen. But then at the end, we did a final assessment because they had learned so much already. We did the same Kahoot quiz and they did so much better. Thank goodness for that. They learned something. So it was good for me to see how much they had learned, and it was good for the children as well to see how much they had learned during that period of time. it was really, really good. So again, that's evidence. See, T standard 4.5. That's an evidence as well. Just write it down. Whatever you do, write it down. The thing here that we put on their box as well. So anyway, it's not hard to gather evidence. Okay? If you do something, write it down. Okay? If you don't have any evidence of something that you do that matches one of your standards, write it down. Okay? Just type it out or just write it by hand. I don't know, whatever you prefer. Just write it down. It's evidence. Okay? Nobody's going to check. Okay? They trust you. Your university trusts you. At least mine did. I don't know about your university, but they usually trust you to be honest about your evidence, about what you're doing. They're not going to call the school and check, hey, was Miss Lara really in that meeting? Did she really do that? Can I get someone to sign this? They're not going to do that, okay? They don't have time for that. Nobody's got time for that. For example, reflection. I did a short placement in a nursery setting. I spent a week there, so I just wrote down what I observed, what I did, what I learned, anything. Just write it down. It's evidence. Okay? So you will gather a lot of evidence, okay? Again, any activity that you do with the children, photocopy it. Or keep the original, you know, if the teacher's not going to use it. Keep it. See, this file might look scary at first because it's so big, but as you can see, it's things that you will naturally gather during a year of studying. Anything that you use in the classroom, like this. I gave these out during a lesson that I did on angles, I think it was. And each child got one of these. Keep it, okay? You might use it in the future, and it's evidence. So just keep everything. The school newsletter, again, I choreographed the songs for the winter performance for the older children. So again, my name was in there. So, you know, it's proof. I did do something. So yeah, I did the choreography for their songs. And, you know, if you do trips, you know, field trips, risk assessment. Keep your risk assessment, okay? Any evidence that you can get, keep it, okay? Keep everything. Remember, keep a hoarder lifestyle for that period of time, okay? I know you're going to waste a lot of paper. This seems like a lot of wasted paper, but you're going to need it, okay? This is evidence. Here, I just kept my thoughts for the choreography that I was doing. One of the songs was Ice Ice Baby. There was also a ballet number from the Nutcracker. This is how my mind works. This is just, you know, how you do choreography. Now, your university might offer you some training sessions, some extra things, you know, lessons for you to, you know, learn stuff. I don't know what you call them. Some little extra qualifications. Do them, okay? Do as much as you can at uni. I know it seems like a lot. While you're doing your PGCE, you also have to take on these extra courses, but do it. They're free most of the time through your university. If you do them afterwards on your own, they're gonna be very expensive, okay? So what I did some of them. Some were mandatory, some were optional, but I chose to do as much as I could. I did a session in Makaton, which is like a simplified sign language for children. So yes, I did that. Safeguarding and child protection, that's a must, okay? That is, it's so important. You won't get a job without it. Safeguarding and child protection, that is very important. So we did that as well. Latin for primary schools as well. We did a few weeks of lessons on Latin. After, you know, our placement, we had to go back into university and do lessons on this. It was worth it. I learned a lot, and it's good. An extra qualification, you know, something that sets you apart from everyone else who'll be applying for jobs in the years to come. So yeah, do as much as you can. Autism as well. It's always good to know. ADHD, you know, so as much as you can, get as much experience as you can. So every time a child sent me a little drawing, a little picture, I kept it as evidence. Not just because of that, but also because, you know, I care. I want to keep them. So yes, anything you want to keep as evidence but you don't have evidence, write it down. Simple. So yeah, that's basically it. Again, photocopied the school newsletter. Got something else, I don't even remember what that's about. So yeah, anything really. Keep everything. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Keep everything. And you will soon find that you have a whole file full of stuff, full of evidence, and it won't take you that long really. What I would suggest, if you don't take anything else away from this video, do a checklist in the front of your folder, okay? This helped me out so much, so much. I knew exactly what I had. I knew exactly which substandards I still had to work on. This helped me so much. So, you know, I'm sharing the joys of the checklist with you guys. Enjoy it. Okay, and that is that. Right, I hope that was helpful. I hope it helped to settle your nerves a little bit. You will have to gather evidence of everything you do, but don't worry about it. It will come naturally. Think of having like a hoarder mentality during that year, okay? Hoarder mentality, really. Gather everything you use in the classroom, okay? Every handout that they give out during meetings, every single thing. If a child gives you a drawing or anything like that, keep it, okay? Keep it because it's evidence that you're doing a good job. So, that's it guys. I hope you liked this video. If you have any more questions, if you have any videos that you want me to make, please let me know down below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, I don't know. Do what you want to do. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.